Samuel Beckett, of course, he was a celebrity, but he shunned the occasion. For him, in fact, he hated people who were reverential. I met Samuel Beckett in 1980 at the Hyde Park Hotel, and I met him because for nearly 20 years I'd been photographing my hometown of Athy, County Kildare. It's always important for me to remind people how important my photographs of my hometown were, because I photographed, long before the word Celtic Tigers, I photographed the dying art of dying in my country. But this is the mark of Samuel Beckett, because you just don't photograph Beckett, you offer him something. Mr. Beckett loved the face, he loved the voice. And I had a feeling, maybe it's my instinct, somewhere above one of my angels said, show him your photograph, those stark black and white photographs of the wake of Katie Tyrrell, Peter Boland, the postman Bill Webb, giving these, doing their chores, the ageism of Athy, funereal days. I didn't realise at the time, but anyway, I wrote Sam a note saying, I have these photographs, Mr. Beckett, I'd love to photograph you, I'm an Irish photographer. And I left a note in. I was told, in fact, that he wasn't staying at the Hyde Park Hotel, but a drinking friend of mine in the Windsor Castle pub in Notting Gate, London, said to me, who was working as a porter in the hotel, and a very interesting man who was interested in books, he said, John, Samuel Beckett is staying in the hotel. I just couldn't believe this. So anyway, I wrote that note to Mr. Beckett, and I gave it to the receptionist saying, look, I know Mr. Beckett's here, I'm going to phone up tomorrow morning. The next day at 9 o'clock I phoned up and I was put through to his room. And Sam, in fact, thanked me for leaving the note and said he'd like to see the photographs of the thigh in the wake. Julie, that happened. 9 o'clock the next morning, I went to the hotel. I was expecting Mr. Beckett to walk down to the lobby, come up to my room. So I went up to his room to see the photographs there, room 604 of the Hyde Park Hotel. At that stage, for 35 minutes, Sam was looking at my photographs. I hadn't realised then that he was actually seeing more than what I was photographing of Athy, because they were his characters. He gave a voice to the moribund. He knew exactly what I had in these photographs. And 26 years down the road, I've seen a lot of productions of Sam's work, and I've come to understand the man through the work a great deal more, and indeed through the work of John Calder, who's one of the most pioneering independent publishers of the 20th century. Again, in fact, I acknowledge John thinking about the state's support, but for the years, in fact, courageously to print people who otherwise would not be on hard covers. And of course, Sam, to some degree, supported John in his endeavours to publish other people, and I'm sure Mr. Beckett would have acknowledged that. But this was the quality of Samuel Beckett. I met him through the ordinariness of an Irish town, Athy, County Kildare, and I'll be forever grateful, because the Athy pictures in Sam will always, I hope, be united, because he was not a theatrical lovey. I mean, he came over from London to direct Rick Clushy, founder of the San Quentin Drama Group. Mr. Clushy spent some years in San Quentin, and while he was incarcerated in jail, he discovered the work of Beckett. The South Bank show for years wanted him on the show. He would turn it down, but yet he'd leave his home in Paris to come to London to direct an ex-convict. That was the mark of the man, and certainly when he looked at my photographs of the wake of Katie Tyrrell, the dying art of dying, he saw something then, and I learned something about my pictures through Samuel Beckett. So again, I just want to thank John Calder particularly, because you see John, he's come over from London today, and the lovely thing, earlier on about an hour ago, I took John to one of the bookshops. I said, John, there's a wonderful display of Beckett. And John sees his publications on this table, and there was a couple had picked up John's book, The Philosophy of Beckett, and this man nearly fainted when he saw John Calder. He said, are you John Calder? Anyway, so John graciously signed the book for him. But this is what I'm associated with now, in fact, quality, and I'm sure the spirit of Samuel Beckett is here in this room, and I just hope it works. And again, I want to thank John, Larry Powell, and Loretta for giving me the opportunity to show photography, and thanks again, Loretta.